they think that that's talking about Jesus being a black man.
Do you hear this, dummy? When did we ever say Songs of Solomon 1 and 5 is talking about Jesus being a black man? This guy has got to be. And for people saying, will I debate him? I'll only do it because he has almost 200,000 subscribers, roughly. And just to see all those subscribers, see me take his head off. But it'd be very quick and easy.
How many roads? Too many signs, I can't read them. Wouldn't recognize the turn even if I seen it. Been driving all along, feel like I'm dreaming. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Street Apologist Live. I'm your host, Vocab Malone. How y'all doing out there? We are live in the brand new studio. It is still getting set up, so everything is not how it's gonna be, but this is our maiden voyage, basically, with the new studio. And I'm very glad that you're here. I'm very glad that we've got this new setup. We got a lot of stuff in store coming your way. And today on Street Apologist Live, we're going to be talking about how Dyer, who is a well-known Eastern Orthodox apologist, he did some criticism of the whole Putin black icon hoax, in essence. And then you have the guy who goes by Deacon. He's the disqualified deacon, the Dunning-Kruger deacon. Haka, he did a response, and I watched both, and it was very interesting because it was like the clash of two worlds that, you know, I had been, I'm somewhat familiar with, but they're not really familiar with each other. And so it's kind of just an interesting thing. And I said, I need to cover this. I want to break this down to the people. So I hope that you guys are ready for today's program. And I think we're going to learn a lot here. Some of you may not know who Dyer is. Dyer, though, he's pretty popular. He's pretty popular on the internet. He's got a lot of subs, which he, talks about a lot or promotes and stuff like that. And he does stuff mainly where he defends Eastern Orthodox understanding of Christianity. It's the main thing that he does. And he kind of takes it upon himself, I guess you might say, to go after anybody who offers any kind of criticism of Eastern Orthodoxy. Well, I was one of those people, so him and I have had little run-ins here. I'm going to try to see if I can show you one of them. But again, this is something new I'm doing, so let's see if this works. Where I am going to try to play the video, actually from the iPad, because apparently I've got too much going on with the screen here. Meaning the problem we have sometimes is that we can't always. There's a reason why sometimes we have trouble with some of the lagging, and it may be because too much is going on at once at the computer. And so I'm trying to work on basically offloading some of the work. And so the iPad is one way I'm going to try to do that. And so what you see now is the iPad on your screen. And I've got a little folder that I've prepared for this. This is something that both audiences, I think, are unaware of what's going on, meaning Dyer's people and then also Haka's people. They don't really understand, I guess, the worlds that they're trafficking in, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? They don't really understand each other's worlds. Now, I'm not from either world or either community, obviously, but nonetheless, I've dealt with both in various ways. And if I could be frank, both are somewhat unpleasant worlds and unpleasant characters. And this is when Dyer kind of, I don't know if he first heard of me or whatever, but this is sort of background a little bit to what we're covering today, and to kind of give you a flavor of this. So let's see if I've got sound on this. Let me make sure it's all the way up. This is all new, doing this on the spot here.
I shouted out to Post Malone for a debate. Party like a rock. No, he doesn't do Party Like a Rockstar. What's that Post Malone song? If you didn't know, Post Malone is an apologist. He goes by, what's his name? I've been popping pillies, debating atheists like a rock star. I got them atheists on the ropes like a rock star. They be saying congratulations. I'm scared to debate J. Dyer, but that's okay. Congratulations. Yes, there is an apologist named Vocab Malone, and he was critiquing Orthodoxy, so I reached out and I said, Vocab Malone, let's debate, baby. I'll post up on you like Post Malone. And he said, no, sir.
So this is the way J. Dyer moves, right? I'm Post Malone, and he's singing the song there. But you know what's interesting about that is Jay, when the need arises, or when
if I turn now to the diamonds,
he will also turn down debates. Watch this.
If I turn now to the diamonds and I start communicating with them, and they said that they would do it, would you do it?
No, and the reason that I wouldn't is because from the outset, I already get the impression that it's not going to be a situation of goodwill, and I would be willing to debate anybody who came at me with goodwill.
So there, J. Dyer is asked during an interview, right? Hey, if I reach out to the diamonds are these kind of strange, I guess, Catholic monks that are off the beaten path. I'm not really sure if they're official. And they've made a number of videos criticizing specifically J. Dyer. And the host says, hey, if I reach out to the diamonds, would you debate him? No, I wouldn't. I would only debate someone who came at me in good faith. Well, J. Dyer, am I supposed to think of you as coming at me in good faith? You know, this is like the level of seriousness. You call me Post Malone. Now, this is going back about 3 years, but I'm giving you some background to who he is in light of this. And I also want to show you the way he acts in debates.
You're a retard. So you're a retard, and you came to the debate and you didn't even know it was in Nicaea. Until they rejected Messiah, dummy. They make the decision on both the Old and the New Testament, you idiot. You are a complete idiot.
Says who? Me?
Me, right now.
Oh, you. Okay. And so why should I take your opinion on that?
It's not an opinion.
Okay, so
it's
how is it a fact?
You're an idiot.
How is it a fact?
This is unbelievable.
Yeah, just notice that I'm just simply trying to go with the information.
No, you're not.
And side.
No, you
yes,
don't know
I
what
am.
You're talking about.
Sir, you just keep interrupting me.
Because you're an idiot.
You're just simply throwing insults. Say
they're,
right there.
They're insults because you're stupid.
So that's how J. Dyer acts in debates. So as we get into today's program of J. Dyer versus Sakari, I want to put it out there. I'm willing to host on this channel a debate between J. Dyer and Sakari. Both sides know me. Sakari knows I'm honorable in hosting debates because I've done it before with them. They know that I keep my word. They should feel comfortable coming on here to do it. Whoever it's going to be, Haka, whoever. And Jay, Haka's challenged you to a debate. Will you debate him? You always are fond of going into people's DMs and saying, debate me, and if they don't give you an immediate yes, do you love to screenshot the conversation and then say they're afraid of you? You nickname me Vocab Malone. Even though, Jay, I go out in real life on the street with these guys. In real life, I'm not just sitting behind a keyboard with books. I got books, I got a keyboard, but I also got legs, and I go out there. So let me know, because this could be a fascinating debate. I don't think it's going to happen, but it sure would be interesting if it did.
If I turn now.
Okay, so now let's go into this right here. All right, here we go. All right, just a second. Bada boom. Bada bing. Okay, here's what we're going to do. This is from J. Dyer's live stream. And Jay is covering the recent controversy with the Putin icon hoax. Haka goes back and forth if they're legit or not. One hand, he'll say, oh, that part was fake, but it's a little unclear, his position. The more he goes back and forth on it shows, honestly, how pseudo he is, because everyone should know it's a whole hoax. There's a bunch of paintings in there that are from modern people that are in English. For example, see the one down in the middle and the bottom? That's Moses the Black. That's not an apostle. And all Eastern Orthodox people know who Moses the Black is. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, in that particular icon that's being used to promote this Putin icon hoax, it literally says Moses the Black in English. Just letting a person know with two eyes that this is something modern. right? Just like Our Lady of Ferguson. We covered this in a previous show. I encourage you to check it out. So here, Jay's got a hold of King Roy, and the post by King Roy says, y'all saw those black Jesus paintings from the 1400s Russia released. Now, is he verifying these are from the 1400s? Because I want to show you something right on the screen. You see there's 1, 2, 3 on the top. We're going left to right. Now 4, 5, 6, we're going left to right. You see the one that's number 6, which is on the outside right in the middle row? You see that one? It has the posture that's like this. We've covered that. That was painted around 2015 by a BLM activist artist. It's called Our Lady of Ferguson. It's a hands up, don't shoot. If you notice closely in the center of the icon, it has a target sight. That's not from the 1400s there, King Roy. So this is, clearly a hoax, or it should be clear that it's a hoax. But it's not clear to everyone that it's a hoax, unfortunately. Now, I got to get back. See, this is the thing with the iPad. They're a little touchy with the iPads. And this is where it'd be awesome if I did have a producer. So let me go back to, come on now. Why is it doing this to me? Okay, there we go. Okay, just a minute. Just right out there. That works better. Okay. All right, now here we are, ladies and gentlemen, looking at this. It's a 2-minute and 40-second clip. Let's see what Jay says. Now, it's not like we're against Jay on this in the sense of the information. The reason he's interested in it, right, is because it has to do with icons, and Eastern Orthodox folks are into icons. But let's see what he says in relationship to this situation. Here we go.
Is St. Moses the Black? Every Orthodox person knows who St. Moses the Black is, okay? And the next one I'm not sure who the next one is. I can't really see it. And I also don't know who the third one is. It's blurry. But the funny thing is that this guy didn't even look to see that the icon at the top left of Moses the Black, it says it's St. Moses the Black. Like, it literally says it right there. This one is the Archangel, right? Looks like Michael, maybe Gabriel. The next one is an old, darkened picture of Jesus. The next one, I don't know what that might be. That might be a Coptic icon. Now, sometimes Coptic icons make the mistake of, and they're non-canonical, by the way, they make the mistake that...
So notice there's a lot going on there. First of all, we should appreciate Jay is trying to do what the people who are advocating this hoax should have been doing all along, which is identifying the paintings. That should have been a given. And if you're going to promote this, you should actually have some idea of what it is. So he's trying to go through and identify it, which makes perfect sense. And he made the point about Moses the Black, which we've also made in a previous live stream. Now, he didn't catch Our Lady of Ferguson, but Jay, if you would have watched my live stream on this, I don't know actually if your show was before or after, so ixnay that. But I did send you a DM, Jay, so you could have got more information about this if you would have been willing to talk, because I kind of extended an olive branch, but you didn't want to talk to me because you don't like me, and called me. What did he called me? Some kind of names in this program. But nonetheless, let's continue on here. And one other thing I wanted to point out: this idea about the Coptics. Okay, so Copts are not considered technically Eastern Orthodox, right? It's Oriental Orthodox. And notice he said, which are non-canonical, by the way. These folks have a system of tradition in which they actually have paintings or images of Jesus that some are viewed canonical and others viewed as non-canonical. Obviously, there is no basis in Scripture for any such designation in regards to icons or paintings. And this is part of a problem we have with Eastern Orthodoxy in the first place. But nonetheless, his point is valid about some of these are darkened images. Some of these are written in English, and it tells you right there. So that's important. So here we go again. Oh, my goodness. Crimson Worm Apologetics. I wanted to not get too caught up in the live chat, but you are tempting me. Please don't call yourself an apologist if you're going to go around saying the Israelites were white. People really need to understand. When I stand against Hebrew Israelism, I am not saying the ancient Israelites were white. That is a laughable, ludicrous, silly, untenable position to have. The ancient Israelites were white. Now, Israelites, which they're not really called Israelites in the modern era, is a much more complicated situation. People try to oversimplify it. We're not going to do that here today. But Crimson Worm, what kind of apologetics are you doing if you think ancient Israelites were white? Anglo-Israelite apologetics? I mean, seriously. No, they weren't white. The King Roy guy's wrong. You're wrong. Jay Dyer's wrong because he thinks there's such thing as canonical and non-canonical icons. Lots of people are wrong.
Jesuits make, which they think that you can portray Jesus as any ethnicity. No. Sorry, you can't do that. Jesus is not every ethnicity. He is only a Hebrew. And he must only be a Hebrew to fulfill the Hebrew prophecies. So it is a weird Gnostic move, for example, when you see Jesuits who promoted a Chinese Jesus. Jesus isn't a Chinese baby, I'm sorry. Now, in the Orthodox view, Jesus assumes, because he's a divine hypostasis, in his singular, particular human nature, all of human nature. So even though he's a particularized human nature, that particular human nature, that particular, is also universal. And thus he's able to resurrect all of human nature from Adam because he's the new Adam. So even though Adam is a single being, he contained within him, in potential you could say, all of his descendants. And so Adam's action in the garden led to the consequences upon all of his descendants. All of them, all human beings from Adam will experience death as a result of the fall. Now, in the case of Christ as the new Adam, Paul extends in 1 Corinthians that cosmic scope of recapitulation just as wide, just as extensive in scope as what Paul says about Adam. So this is why the Calvinist Augustinian move does not work to say that Jesus ultimately only affects the elect.
So Jay used to be a Calvinist, apparently, supposedly. I've heard, well, at least some kind of Baptist. I think he was some kind of a Calvinist, though, because he's fond of presuppositionalism, and he tries to import it over top of Eastern Orthodoxy, which is a totally foreign, inorganic move. It does not work with the system. But nonetheless, I played a little bit longer of that, not because it's relevant to the controversy at hand per se, but I wanted to show you that Jay is clearly a smart guy. Everyone who interacts with him or watches him all recognize he's intelligent. That's not really the issue with Jay. It's other things. It's matters of decorum and protocol, and honestly, character and morals, to be frank with you. These are the kind of questions or challenges that we have in dealing with Jay Dyer. But nonetheless, you can see he's kind of going deep into the weeds of Christology. But even in the conversation about icons and this hoax about Vladimir Putin revealing them and all this kind of stuff, he can't help but throw some salt on the Reformed doctrine of limited atonement. But nonetheless, Dr. Bob is in the live chat, and he's always got a good comment because he knows what's popping with these guys. Jay was Southern Baptist, then Presbyterian, then Roman Catholic, then EO. He's went on quite a trip, and if I'm not mistaken, there's even a time where he was faithless or something like that. Isn't that correct? Isn't that what the Faith Refined by Fire says he went to Greg Bonson's college? Not sure the name of the college. Well, apparently a lot of people know who he is, and I thought that would be expected, but he doesn't really know who Hakah is, and up until Hakah did this video responding, Hakah didn't really know who he was.
Because why are the reprobate resurrected? And we all believe, unless you're some
All right, let's go to the next clip here with Jay.
Oh, even Orthodox people do, which is odd to me, because, I mean, don't you believe in iconographic theology?
Don't you believe in iconographic theology? Now, he's talking there to his EO brethren, right? He said even Orthodox people do. And he's saying you should believe X, Y, Z because you believe in iconographic theology. But hopefully when you just watch this, you realize Eastern Orthodoxy is a whole other thing. And you know what else is a whole other thing? The version of it that exists online in the orthosphere. It's not really historically rooted to actual practice of Eastern Orthodoxy. It's essentially it's sort of fundamentalist type Protestantism with EO glaze, or maybe vice versa. But I think most people know that and can tell that. And I think the Greeks basically just shake their head at all these Americans talking about their EO, you know. But nonetheless, watch this.
So, no, people are saying all kinds of crazy stuff. No. Jesus was not black. The Orthodox view is that Jesus looks like in the icons.
You hear that? The Orthodox
and
view.
That's one of the reasons I like the high priest icon.
Is that Jesus looks like he looks in the icons. So you got to understand, most Christians, I think, understand whether they're for or against paintings of Jesus. Any painting of Jesus, any image of Jesus is artistic license. You know, you can try to kind of get it generally right because you can say, well, the people at this time look this way. Hebrew Israelites, of course, improperly racialize the issue, you know, and turn it into something it wasn't. You know, they changed Jesus from being Semitic into being something in their image that they want to see. But I think most of us know the whitest white Jesus and the blackest black Jesus, none of them are some kind of official representation of whoever Jesus, of whatever Jesus looked like, because we understand we didn't have a photograph. These are artistic representations. Not in Eastern Orthodoxy. These official, you know, sanctioned, these are actually, supposedly, really what Jesus looked like. Jay, I don't buy it. You know they don't look the same. Now, he goes on to try to say, well, they kind of have a similar... No, they. I don't think so. Now, he may say, but you don't know a lot about a vocab. It's true that Jay can sort of out-Eastern Orthodox me. That really goes for most Protestants. It's rare to find a Protestant who can out-Eastern Orthodox an EO person. But that doesn't mean they out-Bible and out-history us. You see what I'm saying? So I think it's clear when you look at even the canonical icons, these ain't the same dude from different angles. Nah, bro. You're saying to say it's the official one, but nah. But that's crazy. They basically have sort of solidified officially a white Jesus because the Eastern Orthodox icons I've seen, they still look like a white Jesus. Maybe a little bit less than a white Mormon Jesus, but that ain't saying too much. But still kind of like a white Jesus, man. You know? That's what it looks like to me. So it's like official.
Because it really shows all of the Hebraic elements of Christ.
Now,
okay.
Look at this. Look at this. He said this is the one he likes. The Hebraic elements of Christ. I guess maybe, you know, there's some lighter kind of different type of feature Israelites that could have been running around the first century. But now what he's talking about is Hebraic in the sense of more the theological aspect, I believe. But if we're going to talk about the ethnicity, which is the topic under discussion, this still looks pretty Euro to me. Remember, just because I don't think Hebrewism is right doesn't mean I believe in a white Jesus. And I think most Christians get that. So this is the Hebraic EO official icon Jesus. And yeah, you could say some of these are similar, but these ain't the same dude still. You know, come on now.
So let's look at the high priest icon here. So he's seated on a throne, and it's a heavenly throne because you see the four cherubim, which are the four gospels, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Now, he's right about that, by the way. It's been historical within Christianity to represent each one of the four gospels in a different symbolic way. Some of you have seen this, and sometimes you probably have seen it and don't recognize it. There's Bibles sometimes that will still have the lion at a place, an eagle at a place, in relationship to the beginning of one of the gospels, for example. That's not official, but there's really nothing wrong with it. But, you know, he's talking about that, but that really doesn't get into Jesus' portrayals, does it? No, not really. Doesn't really do that. Now, let's play the next clip here of Jay Dyer interacting with the Putin icon hoax here. Here we go. Next clip. Bada-boom. Come on now. They don't want to play? Come on now. Yeah, I know you want to play. You're supposed to have a good minute for me. Come on now.
Oh,
there we go. Yeah. The second I said no to his debate, that's what happened there. All right, here we go. Let's see what Jay says.
Hi, I'm Nicole Hockley from Sandy Hook Promise.
He says Frank Cherry founded the Church of the Living.
Okay, so the reason why I took this here is because if you watch this show that Jay Dyer did on the Hebrew Israelites, really he should have just stuck to talking about the icons because he knows something about icons, and he really should have stuck on talking about that. He should not have, in the middle of his program with like 1,200 people watching, literally been looking up videos that he haven't even triaged prior, on the spot, looking at them, and then saying, okay, let's watch this one. Let's see what this one says. Because his audience doesn't know. So he's about to play a video here that says, F.S. Cherry founded the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, I have done this again and again and again. I'm going to have to repeat it here again. All right, everyone listen. F.S. Cherry did not found his church in 1886 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. F.S. Cherry lied about that date. We have evidence that F.S. Cherry was not only a false teacher and false prophet, he predicted that the world would end in 2000. Some of his followers gave a different date, or former followers, in the 80s or 90s, but researchers said it was 2000, and it's been repeated more than once. But at some point, he predicted that. He predicted he believed that the air was a cube. F.S. Cherry was a false teacher and a false prophet, and also a liar. F.S. Cherry was 11 years old in 1886. I did a whole show on this. And the way we know is because 3 times, I think it was 1920, 1930, 1940. I think it was, those were the sin. Hold on, am I going the right way? I think that's the way it was. It might have been 1900 and 1910, but 3 different census records by F.S. Cherry himself all give the same birth date. That means he's self-reporting this. And in every single one of them, it would give a birth date that means that he was 11 years old in 1886. Not only that, from the street views that we can get a hold of, now they didn't have Google Maps, from 1886 in Chattanooga, there's no evidence of his church there, of any Hebrew Israelite church in 1886 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. None at all. So he was just trying to be ahead of the curve. The first time we see F.S. Cherry is pop up is 1915 in Philadelphia. That's when he comes on the map. So he's still a pioneer. He's still important because he was sort of the founder of the radical branch of Hebrew Israelism in a sense. The more radical branch, no doubt about that. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't ecumenical like Christian and Crowdy were. But here's my whole point. On the spot, Jay is watching this, having no background knowledge. It's like, bro, do some research before the show. I don't understand kind of this level of, well, for lack of a better word, haphazardness about important things, you know? Man, I'm going to have to make this where the code stays off longer. But here we go. Let's watch this next one, please. And we'll see what happens here.
I'm Nicole Hockley from Sandy Hook Prominent.
All right.
6. Frank Cherry founded the Church of the Living God, the pillar ground of truth for all nations. Cherry taught a unique theology. Adam and Eve were black, as was Jesus and God himself. Cherry proclaimed the second coming of Christ would take place more than a century later, in the year 2000. Cherry died...
Okay, so now you're seeing why they're sharing these memes of icons that are old-aged and of Moses the Black and saying that, oh, look, it's been hidden from you, Jesus is really black. So it's just another way to play into... it's the black version of Christian identity. If you don't know, Christian identity is a stupid heresy that the lost tribes of Israel are white Christians.
Or Anglo-Israelism, which is where Christian identity got it from. That's really, Hebrew Israelism is really the mirror of that, because Christian identity came after Hebrew Israelism. Hebrew Israelism proper was before Christian identity. Anglo-Israelism was before Hebrew Israelism, though. Just got to get our chronology.
And also that the serpent in the garden had offspring with Eve, and these are other people groups and ethnicities. So they think that when Jesus talks about you are of your father the devil, the seed of this, they literally think that it's like you're literally the seed of Satan. Okay, that's the serpent.
All right, let me see. I'm looking at the live chat here. Let me see, you got a couple questions that seem relevant. Stephen Holman says, Vocab, do you not think we should respect some of the teaching and interpretation of the early church fathers? I absolutely do think we should respect some of the teaching and some of the interpretation of the early church fathers. You know, like the ones that agree with the Bible. So we should respect those teachings and interpretations. But I'm sure you know, if you've read any patristics, that there's no such thing as a universal or unanimous teaching amongst early Christian writers on most issues. On big issues, you get some serious, unanimity, but on a lot of others, you don't. And I don't know, Stephen, I always find it odd when a person disagrees with EO, people then ask about the early church fathers. Our contention is that a lot of things that EO says early church fathers said and did, or the way they interpret it, is wrong, first of all. And second of all, they pick and choose. You know, they kind of limit the input that they allow Augustine into their system. You cite Augustine to an EO person, a lot of times they're like, eh. So, yes, I do, but it's sola scriptura ultimately. But that's not my problem with EO. My problem with EO is later medieval tradition that is therefore laid upon the patristics. That's really what EO is, I believe. And that's my problem with it. You know, next clip here with Jay Dyer. And look what it says in the live chat on the screen, of course. Got to peep that out. He calls me a doofus and then shows a show of it. So this is what he's doing.
Somebody in the chat said, check out Sakari if you want to see somebody maybe defending their arguments.
Okay, so here's where it gets into the meat of our particular show. We are going to have Jay look at some Sakari videos. And then because of that, you have Haka who's going to respond, and then we're going to take a look at his response. So stick around, hit that like button. Be sure, please, ladies and gentlemen, to also like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell, and make sure you comment in the live chat. We're going to be right back. I'm going to play a quick commercial here. Here we go. I'll be right back. All right, just a second. I'm trying to make a few quick changes here to make sure we got everything set up when we come back. We are talking today about Jay Dyer's review of this controversy that's basically a hoax purported, where supposedly Vladimir Putin said, "Hey, you know, we don't need to. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do two things at once, and so I'm not. Let me see here. Okay, let me try to fix this. It's not letting me do this. Just 1 second. I really need to do this. All right, come on now. Help me out here. It's not cooperating. Hey, you guys, I think I'm going to also, from now on, I need to remember to do this. I haven't been doing it. Put the Cash App in the link on the, like, pin it to the top. I've seen people do that. It seems to be a good idea. So, man, I'm having trouble with this. It's not working, but I'm gonna try to remember to do that from now on. And I'm trying to navigate us through these waters of this, because you have people kind of running into each other who don't really know each other, and it makes for interesting things, no doubt about that, but it's also problematic at points. And so we are now at the point of the program where someone says that Jay should watch a Sakari video so they can defend the position of Hebrew Israelism. And so let's watch one of these review parts of the program here. And this is Jay
defending their
clip.
Arguments. So I found this guy, so we'll check him out. Does anybody else have any other clips? Who do I need to look to? Like, do they have an apologist? Do they have somebody who tries to argue? Like, where's the argument for why I'm supposed to believe these basic ideas? So maybe we'll have it. Let's see.
Chinese people more than Chinese people. Nobody loves Arab people more than Arab people. And nobody loves white people more than black people. And nobody loves black people at all. That's the problem. What's your name, brother? I'm Ant. Ant, that's me.
People are saying, vocab, no, I don't want people arguing against it. I want to hear people presenting what their position is, and ain't no way I'm gonna go to Vocab Malone's channel. That guy's a goofus.
Brother, my name is Sakari. So he just read a scripture, right, in Romans chapter 9, and it said that the giving of the law.
All right, so for me, when I know someone knows about something, I respect their knowledge in that area. You know what I mean? Regardless of what else is going on. But Jay is so set in a certain way, in a certain mindset, that multiple people recommend, hey, you should check out some of Vocab stuff. No, I can't, because he's a goofus. And this is why, this is why you're live Googling and asking the live chat, Jay, for help on who their apologists are and what their arguments are. And you're saying, here's this guy, maybe he has it. This is Hassad from Sakari, okay? And yes, he could give his reasons. They'd all be bad. And Jay, you're smart enough that you'd be able to shred them apart. But you didn't do any research on this? I don't understand. You didn't even know what you're watching.
Promises of God and the adoption is for the Israelites. Okay. So what do you do with that? Can you explain why Paul said that?
I believe that when you get in heaven, that God...
Brother, I didn't ask you what you believe. Okay. I asked you, why did Paul say what he said right there? Can you explain that?
But I only can tell about what I believe that
I understand.
That scripture
what I'm asking you to do, real simple.
Notice the way Sakari's got all these tricks. First of all, if we ask them a direct question, they'll neglect to answer half the time and change the subject to something else. But this is the way they operate out there. And also, you should know that Sakari constantly doubts the authority of Paul, says he went off, says he needed to be corrected, says a lot of his writings aren't authoritative, said when we quote him, we're putting men against God. And yet, notice how someone doesn't know that, they'll use Paul against the Christian. This is why it's shady.
What I'm asking you, listen, just real quick, brother.
So this guy, he's doing the classic move we talked about earlier. He found a dude on the street who doesn't know anything, and he's trying to refute that dude to show that Christians don't know anything about theology and this is like the real theology or whatever. So, but I'm not. So the promise.
That is what they do, by the way. Didn't Jay just nail it? That is exactly how they operate. That's exactly what they do. And when Hakar reviewed this, he said, "Oh no, he's trying to." No, that is what you do. Hey, shout out to Alton Johnson. Everyone subscribe to his channel as well.
The Israelites. Okay, but how does that show us that you're the Israelite? That's the thing I'm wondering about. What's their argument that they're the Israelites?
And I'm asking you to do something very specific. So I can read the scripture again. I'm asking you to explain what we're reading. Can you do that?
Go read it again.
Okay, let's read it one more time.
Bring it out.
Romans chapter 9, and let's start from verse 1.
That's the spirit of manipulation.
Verse 3.
That's
verse 3.
Listen.
Okay, he said we're manipulating the word. That's okay. So what we're going to do is read it, and you're going to unmanipulate it. Okay. You're going to right our wrongs. All right, brother?
But like I told dude down there, we can't have a dialogue.
I'm going to let you speak, brother.
Wait, can I just say this?
Yeah, go ahead.
And without interrupting.
Yes, sir.
We can't have a dialogue about the word because I believe in the Trinity and y'all don't.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is of course y'all would simply read the word, but me, I'm relying on the Holy Spirit.
Right.
All right. So this is how these dialogues and discussions go. Shout out to Brandon for the super chat. Thank you very much, Brandon. Appreciate you. And we need more people like you, so thank you very much. Here's the next clip, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, this is funny. So here in this part, he's looking at a clip with Rakah. And Rakah debated James White.
Or somebody in the chat
said... And it says G-O-C-C, but he pronounces it Gok.
Raul Shagak.
All right.
Oh, my gosh. Matt Dilla Monkey, you climbed up in the tree.
Now, I don't know if you can hear. While Jay is literally typing live on his channel, he's Googling and searching, and has really no idea what he's looking at. He doesn't know how to make heads or tails of who these people are. Right? He's singing a song about well-known atheists from the Atheist Experience, Matt Dillahunty. And I don't know if Jay's the originator of it, but I guess he is. He basically made a AI song that I think was improv originally called Matt Dilla Monkey. And he played it at the beginning of this program. Now, what's my point about that? And he's trying to, tie the idea that evolution, right? Dilla Monkey. And again, this is the level of maturity you get from this man who's clearly middle-aged, and yet this is how he acts. So he's humming Matt Dilla Monkey while he looks for it. Hakah's going to seize upon this and make a big deal and say, notice while he's Googling for Hebrew Israelites, he's singing a song about monkeys. Well, I'm no fan of Jay Dyer, as you can tell, but that was unfair because if Hakah would have watched the whole thing, he would have seen Jay was already singing this song that's making fun of atheistic evolution in the beginning. Jay's not going to be cognizant enough to be aware, like, hey, that looks bad, because they're going to make something out of it. And so he's just singing what he's singing in the beginning. That's all I'm saying. But nonetheless, that's what the song is.
What you doing up there? Raul Shagak. Oh my gosh.
Imagine watching this live stream while a dude's Googling for the first time Hebrew Israelites.
I'm afraid if I play a James White clip, he'll try to attack my channel. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean. Does anyone have any evidence that James White literally has ever went after someone's YouTube channel for playing clips of him or anything like that? I've never heard of such thing. James White and Rich, whatever their faults are, aren't like that. They don't even make thumbnails for the videos. It's literally the same thumbnail, the Alpha and Omega logo every time. They don't care about that kind of thing. You can see that Jay's identity is not really wrapped up in Eastern Orthodoxy. It's wrapped up on his social media personality. So he probably legitimately has so much tied into this that he is afraid of this, but it's an irrational fear. So he won't play a clip of James White because he's afraid he'll go after his channel. Like, seriously? You know there's fair use anyway.
Now I'm not sure if I can play this James White because I don't trust. Even worse if it's on Vocab Malone's channel. He's even worse. So.
He's even worse. This is his live stream, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
You could see why Hakah would have a field day with a live stream like this, with a guy like this. Because first of all, he's dissing me, so Hakah's going to get a kick out of that, all right? And second of all, it's clear he's learning about it as he's live. It's just an embarrassment. Next clip, ladies and gentlemen, if I got this, is it going to play? Oh, okay, it's just an image there. Okay, I think we're ready to do the... Are we ready to do the next part of the program? Let me see here. Make sure I got this. All right. Okay, so now we're going to transition, ladies and gentlemen, into the part of the show where we're going to actually look right at Hakah and what he does, okay? So we're looking at that side. Real quick, did we just get a super chat that I missed? Oh, White Lily, thank you very much. Appreciate the super chat. Much love. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. It's weird having the whole screen up here. It's got everything on there. All right. So let me take a quick break here and get our next clip set up, and we're going to continue on Street Apologist Live.
How you doing, everybody? Michael Williams from Linehouse Publishing, Judah Nation Radio. I'll tell you about a book that we just helped print and publish. Barack Obama versus the Black Hebrew Israelites. It's written by one of my friends, Vocab Malone. Vocab has done a great job of going through and presenting almost like an introductory manual to the Black Hebrew Israelite religion and also giving you some talking points from Scripture. This is a great book for you guys to read. If you guys are not familiar with the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, it's a movement that is sweeping its way through a lot of urban churches as well as a lot of urban ministries. We are called to, at all costs, preach the word, defend the gospel by counteracting. Get the book if you're into apologetics. Get the book if you're into defending the gospel going around. Get informed about it so that you can really counteract it by having a little bit of knowledge before it, because you can't argue against something that you don't know about. Now, so you definitely want to get this. It's about 140 pages. I admonish you guys to get this book. You can order it at the website listed below. You can also look at Vocab Malone on all of the social media networks. Purchase the book. It's a
bring out this reality that it was the early Black Jews in Harlem, Black Judaism, that gave birth Black Hebrew Israel, and one West brand and variation of it.
Check out this shirt.
Hit it. Look at that. Urban theology. Yeah. Oh, that's hot, bro. Look at that.
Yeah, all right. So this is the Urban Theologian.
Urban Theologian. There it is.
Urban Theologian shirt. I'm trying to let you be able to see it. All right. Still trying to figure out some things with the iPads. First time we're playing the clips off of there, having a little bit of trouble with it. This is Street Apologist Live, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm your host, Vocab Malone. This is a show where we serve the underserved and look into the overlooked. And today, we're talking about a controversy regarding these Putin icons, where supposedly Putin revealed Black Jesus and all this other kind of stuff in ancient icons. He did no such thing. It was AI generated. The speech was not a speech that he actually gave. The translation was a false translation. A lot of the images were something that Putin never showed, and some of them are actually from the modern era. When I say modern era, I'm talking 21st century, such as Our Lady of Ferguson. Total hoax, got shared around the internet. A lot of Israelites believe in it. Well, Jay Dyer jumped on and added his 2 cents to the discussion, and then Hakah saw it, Hakah from Sakari, and then he added his 2 cents upon Jay's 2 cents. And now we're covering this, trying to make heads or tails of all this, because it is quite fascinating. And I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching, because hopefully you're learning a lot more along the way about both sides of this. And I just want to also say thank you very much, Mr. Green Reads, for the super chat as well. We got a lot of great people in here who keep us going. We definitely do niche apologetics, but we appreciate you guys hanging in there and supporting this work and this ministry. And we're very excited because pretty soon, we're going to be seeing a lot doper live stream, because I got some really cool new equipment coming. It's going to be awesome. All right, so let's watch this next clip. Hopefully it plays. Come on now.
Because if you read the Bible talks about the God of this world. What? The Bible talks about the God of this world. The Bible says the Israelite men are God. Ye are gods. The Bible says.
Okay. So this is in Hakah's response to Jay Dyer. And I just really had to stop there, even though it wasn't directly about the controversy. But I really thought we needed to kind of look at this together briefly. And what's going on here is Jay, when he was reviewing the history of Hebrew Israelism, did touch on how a lot of them don't really understand Jesus as God proper. And it's true that they don't. And so Hakah says, well, there's a lot of gods. There's not just one God. And so he goes to references 2 Corinthians 4:4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. So let's look at what it says specifically, okay? This is 2 Corinthians 4:4. Now, most people have understood that this is Satan. It doesn't technically say that it's Satan, although I do believe that it is Satan. And let's take a look here, 2 Corinthians 4:4. I want to go a little bit before it, though, starting in verse 1. Therefore, since we have this ministry, as we receive mercy, we do not lose heart, but we have renounced the hidden things of shame, not walking in craftiness. Hakah, that's something you need to do. Hakah's whole online presence is based upon craftiness. Not walking in craftiness or adulterating the word of God. That's something else he excels at. But by the manifestation of truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of God. He doesn't do that. Even just recently, he was on with God Logic and said, hey, if you look this such and such up, I'll cash app you $50. And he didn't do it because he's a liar. He's not a man of his word. He's not a man of honor. Now, if he's done it since then okay, that's cool. But as of now, he hasn't. And you should have done it right away if you're going to say that. Verse 3, and even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing. Verse 4, and in whose case the God of this age or world, understand the similarity there in the Greek, has blinded the minds of the unbelieving so that they might not see the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. It's funny, even in that verse, you have evidence about Jesus being God because he's referred to in a way that is unique. The icon of Theos, the icon, it's E-I-K-I-O-N transliterated, not icon like I-C-O-N. Obviously, the two words are related, though. And notice there that it's saying, hey, there's people you preach to, but they're not going to hear the truth because the God of the world has blinded them from being able to see the glory of this gospel about Christ, and he's the one who's the image of God. And look at verse 5. For we do not preach ourselves, but Jesus Christ as Lord, and ourselves as your slaves for the sake of Jesus. So notice here, Paul is saying we're slaves of Jesus. Paul is saying that we preach Jesus Christ, and we preach him as Kyrios, as Lord. Clearly, and if you go through and read all this, these are not things you could say about a regular person, about a prophet, about a king, about a priest. These are divine and lofty things to say about Jesus. And so even in this passage, you look at it, he's not even looking at all that. He's looking at the line that says Satan is the god of this world. Now, it doesn't actually say Satan. So some people make a case actually that it is God who's doing the blinding there, sort of a judgment. And it's an interesting case to listen to. Nonetheless, I do think that it's accurately describing Satan, because what's it saying? It's saying he's the one that God is allowed to have rule and reign over this age, over this time. We all should understand the way God is used in this context. It's not saying he's a creator. It's not, and I think you know that. So it's just saying, well, what do you mean by God? Okay, my kids have a friend who's a big basketball fan, and he plays PS. They play 2K together, right? And so you have to have an account so you can all jump on 2-on-2, right? And so I go on the PS4 and I see a profile that you can log into that says Basketball God. I didn't make it. My kids didn't make it. Our friend, Mr. Ortega, I'll just say that's his name now, young Ortega, he's the one who made it. Basketball God. Does he really think he's a god? What's he saying by that, right? He's saying, I'm really good at basketball. I've mastered the craft. No, it's not true. You know, he's 14 or 15 or whatever, right? So God of this world is not saying anything where you can now say, oh, there's more than one God. But this is what people do when they want to take away glory from Jesus. And then, I don't know if you guys caught it right after what he said. What did he say? Did you guys catch this? He says, Israelite men are God. Man, I am getting... This iPad idea may not work long term. This is giving me problems here. But listen here what he says.
As well, because if you read the Bible talks about the God of this world. What? The Bible talks about the God of this world. The Bible says the Israelite men are God. Ye are God.
Israelite men are gods. Ye are gods. He's referring John 10, which is quoting Psalm 82 there. And then it says you'll die. It's just talking about the judicial class of ancient Israel being wicked. They're in charge of something that God's given them charge over, but they'll die. They're not really gods. Just like false gods, man, which the Bible says are nothing. Imagine in an effort to try to take away the deity of Christ, you say Israelite men are gods and Satan's a god. If you don't need evidence that this is not a satanic, self-centered, man-made religion, my goodness.
The Bible says demons are God, angels are God.
Tell me about demons and angels being God. Tell me about it, Hakah. By the way, I've caught him doing this a lot. He has a list memorized where he says all these other things that are God. This is deception at its finest. It's unexplained. He says the Bible says something about Satan's a God. He's not explaining any of these. He's not getting them right exactly. Demons are God. Angels are gods. There he's probably most likely referring to Elohim. No, none of that takes away the uncreated nature of the one who is Jesus Christ, sir. None of it.
The Bible says Jesus has a God over him.
Oh, really? Jesus has a God over him? Who is it? Is it Satan? Is it the angels or the demons? Because they're all gods. Is it Israelite man? What does it mean then if Jesus has a God over him according to your theology? Now it seems like he might have an idea of what God is. You see what I'm saying? Who's the God over Jesus then, if that's what you're going with? It doesn't work with all your other definitions, would it? This is the father-son relationship. This gets into the Trinity, which the guy was talking about on the street with Hakah.
So what the Bible is describing as totality is monolatry or monolatry, monolatrism. That we believe in gods, but there's one most high God whom we worship.
You guys hear that?
He thinks he's on a level too. So we need to tag this guy.
Yes, Jay Dyer does think he's on a level too. But so do you. Monolatry. I remember when I was a student at Mesa Community College, which was filled with LDS members at that time. And one of my classmates who was trying to infiltrate our Bible studies that we were doing at the time came and told me he wasn't a polytheist, because I had accused him essentially, since he held the LDS theology, which is an infinite number of gods, of being a polytheist. Now, he's my friend. I did it in a nice way, but I said, your religion is polytheism, right? He comes the next day and says, no, I practice monolatry. At that time, this is a number of years ago, I didn't know what monolatry was. So I looked up monolatry, M-O-N-O-L-A-T-R-Y. And then I found out it's a whole thing. And then I also realized that what has happened is LDS folks had essentially co-opted this idea of monolatry to try to describe what they believe with all of their gods going on, right? And so really, monolatry is a subdivision of polytheism. It's still polytheism because it's saying out of all the gods that exist, this is the claim of monolatry here. Out of all the gods that exist, well, we only serve and worship one. And then sometimes that gets contrasted with something called henotheism, which is somewhat different. Henotheism is the idea that out of all the gods exist, one is supreme over the others. And so Mormonism, I guess you could say, is monolatry. And if you talk to a local missionary, that's what they'll say. But basically, that's what he's trumpeting. That's what he's on too. Monolatry. Imagine being proud of monolatry when the Bible clearly and obviously teaches monotheism. We hold to monolatry, monolatrism. Like that's a good thing. Hakah's literally telling you, I'm a pagan. I'm a heathen. I'm an idolater. You understand? He's literally doing that on his program. You know? No two ways movement. About it.
I know those are a bunch of hippie, lay down weirdos.
Okay, this dude is trying to describe the Hebrew roots movement. I don't know where in the world he got his understanding, which is obviously a misunderstanding about what Hebrew roots is. Look, let me tell you something. If you watch Hakah, you watch Deacon Destruction. By the way, have you ever wondered, his name? Honestly, Deacon Destruction. It's savory. He'll lead you to destruction. He serves destruction. Just saying. I know what he's trying to get at, but that's what's really going on. Okay, so look. He's trying to describe Hebrew roots movement, which, that's R.L. Solberg's specialty. This dude gets it totally wrong and calls them hippie weirdos lay down. What? That's not what Hebrew roots is.
Oh. So, U.S. Soccer Rising Star.
Oh, wait, right here. My bad. That's the wrong clip. Hold up.
Taking shots at Bryson. I was going to title this Roots Movement. I know those are a bunch of hippie, lay down weirdos. We are radicals and ultra nationalists, extremists.
People actually
This clip is so perfect. I know it's short, but so this is all in Hakah's reaction to Jay. Now, if you're wondering why it looks like that on the screen, because Hakah's, he's popular on the internet, no doubt about that. He has way more people who ever watch a live stream than I do, no doubt about that. That's just how it is with Hebrew Israelism and Christian apologetics. It is what it is. I don't take it personal. He's so unprofessional. He puts himself in this tiny little corner, though, down on the bottom of his screen with the main screen all big, and you can't even see him. So I don't like all that XX stuff. So I'm showing a clip, but that's why it's so grainy like that, because it's cropped out. This is the closest I can get to the screen. But
Roots Movement.
In this clip, he literally says, we're nationalists. We're extremists. So it's like, bro, you could call Sakari an extremist according to his own definition. Because I thought they didn't, I don't know. Some of the groups don't like being called that, but he's owning that they're extremists. Okay, bro. Let's call you what you are.
I know those are a bunch of hippie, lay down weirdos. We are radicals and ultra nationalists, extremists.
People actually
remember that. Next time you talk to Sakari, say Deacon Haka said that you are radical, ultra-nationalist extremist. Do you agree?
Taking shots at Bryson. I was going to title this, Not So Funny Edomite Cracker, Outraged at the Color of Jesus Christ. Now, we're going to get to there.
Haka, those paintings are frauds. The voiceover is frauds. It's produced by AI. A lot of the paintings are altered digitally. Some have been altered physically over time. Some are modern era paintings. So it's not proving it there. Now, it's funny. Haka's like Jay Dyer in a lot of ways, in which the social media element is such a key part of who they are, to their core identity. They essentially adopt these characters. They make their living off it, which I'm not banging on per se, but they have to sell out their scruples in order to do so, basically. I think it's quite obvious in both cases because it destroys your integrity when you approach it a certain way. And it's very soul corrosive. And that's why they move the way they move. They don't even realize how far gone they are, all right? So this dude is talking about Bryson Gray, all right? Some of you guys know him. He's like the super Trump rapper. It's kind of how he got known, you know, conservative, whatever. He's into Hebrew root stuff. Him and Jay debated, all right? And Haka's acting like him and Bryson Gray, they're cool. It's funny with Haka, it's like they used to bang on IUIC real hard, and now all of a sudden, every time he refers to Nathaniel, he's the bishop. The bishop. He's elder, the bishop. And it really has to do with just strength and power and numbers. The only reason they move that way is because these folks have followings. Sakari, specifically Haka, are clearly respecter of persons. They do not look on the inside as God judges. They look on the outside. The most superficial, obvious, shallow how lens is right in front of you. And now watch this in light of that.
Taking shots at Bryson. I was going to title this, Not So Funny Edomite Cracker, Outraged at the Color of Jesus Christ. Now, we're going to get to there.
Great title, Not So Funny Edomite Cracker. That was going to be his title. Is that what we wanted? Is that the title that we wanted?
And then in the Christian church.
Oh.
So, U.S. Soccer Rising Star says he wants to talk about how I said Black Americans glow better than continental Africans.
So he's got someone in the live chat who wants to take him on about something he said. This is an insane clip and just shows you how
roots movement
non-scholarly
taking
this
shots
man
at
is.
Bryson. I was going to
this. Watch this. I want you guys to hear this.
And then in the Christian church.
Oh.
So U.S. Soccer Rising Star says he wants to talk about how I said Black Americans glow better than continental Africans. Brother, if I have time, which I probably won't, we still got to get through maybe 30 minutes of this content. It hasn't even got good yet. He's about to start going in on Black Jesus. But I'm not interested in talking with you about how the glow of an African versus the glow of a Black American. I'm just not going to do it, brother. Don Miller.
But Haka really said that. Black Americans have a better glow than continental Africans. It's the most racist religion you ever could have imagined. And it's based upon vibes. My goodness, man. And this guy says
I might convert just because of the thumbnail game they got going.
No, you can't convert. You're going in chains. You're getting a leash.
Now here, Haka is going to say that Jay Dyer can't convert because Jay Dyer made a funny joke to an extent. He says, I might convert just because of the thumbnail game. He's looking at IUIC thumbnails and says, these are pretty fire. You know, I might convert just because of the thumbnails. And Haka says, you can't convert. You're going in chains. Now, Haka, how do you know Jay Dyer is not an Israelite? How do you know that? You don't know who his dad is. And you guys will say it's not based upon the way you look. How do you know? He's not an Israelite according to one of your calculations. You don't know. But you're going to presume slavery upon him now in a second. This is why, even though it's way beneath what I should be doing, I am willing to host a debate on this channel between J. Dyer and Hakah, because they're a match made in purgatory. And what I mean is you have the situation where both of them think very highly of themselves. And both of them don't do a good job about representing other people's positions or caring really about getting it right. Both of them are super disrespectful. And both of them are somewhat entertaining. So it would be, yes, some National Enquirer stuff if I did it. But I think I'm probably the only channel that could be trusted to host a debate. And I would do it. I'm sorry. It's me giving in to something I should not be giving into, but I would host it because it would just be too insanely. Because Jay plays upon Christians who are calm and nice and tries to make them lose their temper. Same thing Hakah does. They literally have the same spirit.
I might convert just because of the thumbnail game they got going.
No, you can't convert. You're going in chains.
How do you know, bro?
You're getting a leash, a shock collar.
To fight? No, we just want to see an argument.
You're getting a shock collar around your neck. And I can't.
Okay, here we go. You've been lied to.
I can't wait to whip his
Everything I
ass.
say has nothing to do with my personal feelings.
Hey, you guys hear that? I want you to listen to this clip again. Hakah is such a sadistic, twisted, perverted person. You're going to get a shock collar. How do you know, Hakah? You're not in charge of nothing. Let's just say that your version of slavery is real. How do you know that J. Dyer is going to have a shock collar? You see what I'm saying? You just make up. You're just a hateful person who's found a cult that will allow you to express your hatred. It's so sad to watch. And it gives you popularity and money to boot while you're at it. You're not about to relieve this religion. Ever. Never. This dude says J. Dyer's going to get a shot collar and then says, and I can't wait to whip your back. First of all, pause. Bro, it sounds mad suspect. And who thinks like, and this shows also, these guys don't think slavery is wrong. You understand what I'm saying? Think about all the slavery in the world that's ever happened. They just think it matters who's holding the whip. Slavery is not objectively morally wrong. It's not wrong to own people made in the image of God and treat them like property and worse than animals. That's not wrong according to Sakari, basically. It just matters who's holding the whip. Why don't you just be an evolutionist, Might makes right. Go full Nietzsche,
I might convert just because of the thumbnail game they got going.
No, you can't convert. You're going in chains. You're getting a leash, a shock collar.
To fight? No, we just want to see an argument.
You're getting a shock collar around your neck. Mm-hmm. And I can't.
Okay, here we go. You've been lied to.
I can't wait to whip his
Everything I
ass.
say has nothing to do with my personal feelings.
I can't wait to whip his back. He puts that extra sauce on it. Bro, Hakah, you're never going to be taken serious. You take those pictures where you're holding your whole library, stack of books, and call yourself professor and go around on the streets telling people you're a biblical scholar. And then always telling people, oh, we'll have a nice civil dialogue. Eventually, people realize the con man that you are. Don't mess with this dude. Just let him be. Just let him do his thing. You know what I mean? There's no point in trying to have a rational discussion with him. He does a review of a video, and while he's watching it, says, I can't wait to whip his back. What? No diddy, Hakah.
That I've been looking forward to for the longest time. Hoping when I delve into those things, but without wasting any time.
He's going to do
I'm going to beat his back. I'm going to beat his back so bad.
Or at the camera, but during the interview, you can just look at me.
All right. Ambition.
So they're now watching an IUIC clip. They're watching a clip with IUIC. Now, why are they watching a clip with IUIC? I know it gets a little complicated. Jay Dyer, scavenging around the internet looking for research on the fly, goes and watches an IUIC interview with an African gentleman. It's actually a really good interview. The African gentleman does a great job of asking good questions, and it's an insightful, interesting interview. I actually really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the host, the way he did things. And IUIC did what they do. You know, they're good at kind of the soundbite presentation and all that. They did what they did. You know, they show why they're the top camp. You know, you can see in these interviews that it makes sense why they are where they are. While he's still stuck on the thing about whipping his back so hard. And so Haka's watching it and just interjecting this. This is the strange sadism of this weird religion. And he's smiling while he says it. Like, who thinks like this? Who is like... Definitely not a follower of Christ, I'll tell you that.
That I've been
watch
looking
his face.
for
Watch.
the longest time. Hoping when I delve into those things, but without wasting any time.
I'm going to beat his back. I'm going to beat his back so bad.
Or at the camera, but during the interview, you can just look at me.
All right. I'm Bishop.
Bro.
As seen before, we are gathering our people which have been scattered during the sub-Saharan slave trade and the transatlantic slave trade. Our forgotten brothers, our forgotten
Dude's even got the villain laugh, bro.
Christ commanded us.
Oh, man, I was thinking that, too. I was thinking I should have said no Diddy after that.
Yeah, you should.
So like, I'm going to whip the flesh right off of his back. I'm going to rip the flesh right off of his back in the kingdom. This devil right here, he's going to be my slave. I'm calling dibs on him.
So I noticed a lot of references to American history.
What is this? Now look, this insanity is why you should support me. Straight up. Support Street Apologists. Because most philosophers and apologists and theologians, people with MAs and MDivs and who are trained in languages, they're not going to watch this kind of person doing this type of thing online, take it serious and think they need to respond to it. They're just not. But someone like me who looks out in the corner and sees what's going on and has friends and sees what's going on, and to a certain extent even family and sees what's going on, and sees it right there up close and personal and knows and does a deep dive. And I'm not the only one. We had Alden stop by. We had Jesse Walsh. There's lots of us. And we need your help and support because we will take this serious because we know it's affecting people. And imagine this is your cult leader. This is one of your top leaders, a guy who talks like this and thinks like this during live stream. He's literally saying, I'm going to rip the flesh. What? Who fantasizes about this kind of thing? What is this? Again, what are we covering? Jay Dyer criticized, rightfully so, even though his research was shoddy, the whole Putin black icon scandal hoax. All right, from an EO perspective. Okay, makes sense. That's what he does. Haka does a response video talking about Hollywood comedian XYZ and does a response. And in the context of this says, I can't wait to, he's going to be my slave. I'm calling this, I'm going to whip his back so hard, so bad. No, Diddy, I'm going to rip the flesh. What is this, bro? Are you serious? Yeah, let's watch that again. We need to hear this. Look at
seen before. We are gathering our people.
That I've been looking forward to.
I think it's right here.
Seen before. We are gathering our people which have been scattered during the sub-Saharan slave trade and the transatlantic slave trade. Our forgotten brothers, our forgotten sisters, as Christ commanded us.
Oh, man, I was thinking that too. I was thinking I should have said no Diddy after that. So like, I'm going to whip the flesh right off of his back. I'm going to rip the flesh right off of his back in the kingdom. This devil right here, he's going to be my slave. I'm calling dibs on him.
So I noticed a lot of references to American history.
This is why if you're thin-skinned, you shouldn't get involved with dealing with these guys. Now, I want to show you something in Revelation chapter 21. I open up the Bible, the Word of God here, and I open up Revelation 21. I want to show you what the kingdom's really like. Can I show you something, ladies and gentlemen? We're here in Revelation 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. It's new. These guys basically want a continuation of the old heaven and the old earth. They just want to be the ones holding the whip. Understand? But this is a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth passed away, and there is no longer any sea. So it is heaven and it is earth, although it's called new, and there's some physical differences. It's transformed, you can tell by this passage. Listen to this. I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven. Now that's fascinating. The holy city is not in Israel, ladies and gentlemen. It's in heaven. It's God's presence right there with him. That's the New Jerusalem that we're looking for, that we're interested in. Notice, we don't all go to Israel. Jerusalem comes down from heaven. You guys catching this? I hope you're catching this. Coming down out of heaven from God. Powerful. Made ready as a bride, adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is among men. And this is what it's really symbolizing and really what you're seeing, where God is living directly among his people like this. It's a beautiful thing. And he will dwell among them, and they shall be his people, when God himself will be among them. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be any death. There will no longer be any mourning or crying or pain. The first things passed away. Now let me show you something here real quick. This man is going on there talking about whipping people's backs and slaves and shot collars and ripping the flesh off, and he can't wait to do it, and I got dibs on this slave. This says he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Now, what this guy is going to say, who's smiling on the screen, again, he's got the villain laugh and smile down pat, right? He would probably say, oh, that's just the Israelites. First of all, this is God's people, and it's every nation, tribe, tongue. It's not just Israel. It never said that. What are you talking about? In fact, the minority would be Israel, because there's a lot less Israelites. It is what it is. There's a lot more of other types of people. Probably a high percentage, I guess you could say, as far as if there's a percentage out of certain people groups. I mean, this is all speculation, but it's not just. So there's not going to be crying is the point. God's going to be comforting his people. There will no longer be any death. These dudes talk about killing people in the kingdom, but the Bible says there will no longer be any death. Oh, that just applies to us. The Bible doesn't say that. It says there's no more death. You can't kill your slave that you're not going to have anyway in the new heaven and the new earth, because there's no more death. There will no longer be any mourning. You're not going to hurt your slaves that you're not going to have anyway, because there's no mourning there, or crying or pain. You're not ripping the flesh off of anybody's back, but if you did, there would be no pain associated with it, because the first things passed away. They don't want the first things passed away. They want the antebellum South in heaven, except reversed. You guys catching this? Revelation 21 destroys the One West revenge, fantasy, perverted dream. No matter what you say, it certainly does. And I hope that people realize that it does. Next clip.
Of another nation.
Here we go.
That Cornelius was of another nation. It literally says another tribe, another one of the 12 tribes of Israel. It's the compound word alophilos. Literally says that in the Greek. Man lived in Israel, was a devout man. We were called by the names of Gentiles, but he was not a bloodline Gentile. Furthermore, if you're going to say that salvation was opened up for the Gentiles after Acts 10, I thought the Great Commission was for that decades earlier.
Did you guys hear that? What's he talking about? He's talking about Acts chapter 10. Now, we could do a whole program on this. You understand? We don't have time right now, but I'm going to have to at least show this. I'm going to bring up Logos because this is very important, and it's insane what this dude is trying to say, and it's totally inaccurate, and we're just going to have to take some time here. This man's talking about Cornelius. And he's saying, because Jay did a good job of going through Acts and showing the mission as it spreads out to Gentiles. And he does a good job of showing the Great Commission in action. Hakah, when he comes upon Cornelius, Acts chapter 10, comes up with some crazy scheme about what supposedly happened there. It's just so bad. It's just so bad. And Hakah, I think he knows that it's problematic, because if he knows about the history of his own religion, these guys couldn't agree on this. This was a problem within the One West sphere, what to do with Cornelius. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but for the longest time, the One Westers taught that Cornelius got the trick bag. Yahweh tricked him to make him think that he was going to be, getting salvation. But he really wasn't. So let's go to Acts chapter 10. I'm in the Legacy Standard Bible, although I'll be cross-referencing it with the ESV. And we just need to look at this for a second here, because Hakah lies on the Bible every time he hits that record button. Cornelius and Peter's visions. Now, there was a man at Caesarea. So he's at Caesarea. It doesn't say who is of Caesarea. Understand that? Because Hakah said, he lives in Israel. Well, he's at Caesarea, a common place for these kinds of folks to be. You get other references there. Named Cornelius. Now, it's not a be-all, end-all, but that ain't no Hebrew name. All right? Yes, there was Hebrew names with names like that, like Apollos. But the evidence stacks clearly in the favor of one obvious conclusion. He's a Gentile. A centurion. Were there sometimes Israelites who served in the Roman army? Yes, there were, and there's articles about it. That's true. But notice how I'm just covering the bases here. But what's the evidence that he's Jewish? Once you have a centurion, this is a high-ranking official. He's at Caesarea. His name's Cornelius, and it says of what was called the Italian cohort. Now, there's some questions about what the Italian cohort is. Of course, I always like seeing it in there, being part Sicilian. But would you get any evidence from this that he's Jewish or a Hebrew or Israelite? And in fact, what kind of business would God have saved under a Hebrew Israelite rubric? How would you have God saving somebody who is an oppressor for his own people if this was a Jewish person? And that's the way God looked at these things. But he doesn't look at it the way that One Westers look at it. And I think that's quite obvious now. But we're not done. I'm just rolling through this real quick here. A devout man. So he's a devout man. Where is the indication he's Hebrew? It could have said here, it could have said there was a Jew or a Hebrew at Caesarea. It could have said that. A Jewish or Hebrew centurion. It could have said that. Who was what was called the Italian court, although he was Jewish or an Israelite. It could have said that. A devout Jew or Hebrew. It doesn't say that. You guys catching this? One who feared God. Look up every lexicon, every study of this phraseology in the Greek, since he's going to act like he's getting into the Greek. The God-fearer terminology. What does it come from? It comes from Gentiles who were observant in a key way, and they were people. It's a technical category, basically. These are people who, the word here is, I'm going to bring it up right now. Phobomenos ton, all right? Phobomenos ton. Phobo, you hear that word phobo, that's like a phobia. Phobomenos ton, a God-fearing man. That's what that's saying. You got Kai Phobomenos ton, theon. Even like kind of more particular because it has a definite article in there. A man who feared the God is a way you could say it. Maybe they're just getting at the idea of the one true God is the idea, because the definite articles doesn't get translated in English as it shouldn't. It kind of clunks it up. But he's a devout man who feared God. Again, nothing there about him being Jewish. In fact, again, re-emphasizing, look this up. Every study of this phraseology, the God-fear category, shows from the evidence of the literature, these are Gentiles who were respectful and reverential, but had not taken the final step of circumcision. And he's described in these ways. So notice how he's not described. He's never called a Jew or a Hebrew Israelite, not even once. His tribe isn't given. He doesn't have some father who has a Jewish name. None of that. Everything about it says, one who feared God with all his household, so he'd even taught them as well, and gave many alms to the people. Now, why does it say to his people? Because guess what? You could say that. It could say to his people, right? And then it would be actual, his own people group of Israel. It doesn't say that. What does it say? He says he gave alms generously to ha-leos, the people. It's not his people, though. Do you understand? It's another people that he's giving to, and prayed to God continually. So he's clearly devout. About the 9th hour of the day, he clearly saw in a vision an angel of God who had come in and said to him, Cornelius. And looking intently on him and becoming afraid, he said, what is it, Lord? And he said to him, your prayers and alms have ascended as a memorial before God. Now send some men to Joppa, and this is so important. This ties it in with the Jonah story. This is intertextuality. This is typology. These are historical patterns repeating to converge on a certain point. And here it has to do with Gentile mission, because that's what goes going on with Jonah and Joppa with the Old Testament story of going to Nineveh. So this is something to know if you know your Bible. Now send some men to Joppa and summon a man named Simon, who was also called Peter. He is lodging with a tanner named Simon, whose house is by the sea. See, very Jonah-esque language put in there on purpose by Luke. And when the angel who was speaking to him had left, he called 2 of his servants and a devout soldier of those who were his personal attendants. After he explained everything to them, he sent them to Joppa. And on the next day, as they were on their way and approaching the city, Peter went up on the housetop about the 6th hour to pray. But he became hungry and was desiring to eat. And while they were making preparations, he fell into a trance and saw heaven opened up and an object like a great sheet coming down, lowered by 4 corners to the ground. And there were in it all kinds of 4-footed animals and crawling creatures of the earth and birds of the sky. And a voice came to him, rise up, Peter, slaughter and eat. And Peter said, by no means, Lord, for I have never eaten anything defiled and unclean. So Peter understood what the voice was asking him to do, but he said, no, why would I do that? Maybe he thought it was some kind of a test. You know what I'm saying? Again, a voice came to him a second time, what God has cleansed, no longer consider defiled. So obviously Hebrewites try to say, oh, this is the northern kingdom. Oh, these are the Israelites who are in Gentile state of mind. This is clearly talking about peoples and foods. It's a 2-for-1er. It's a obvious implication about what's going on here, and I think it's very significant, and one Westerners don't know how to deal with it. You can see when you hear the overcompensation that it's clearly not what Hakah is saying it is, all right? All you got to do is read it. This happened 3 times, and immediately the object was taken up into heaven. Now, while Peter was greatly perplexed in mind as to what the vision which he had seen might be. Now, look, Hakah said, oh, well, that's clearly the northern kingdom. That's clearly the Israelites and the Gentiles. Peter's perplexed by it, but his experience with Cornelius is going to shine light on it after the fact, and we see that show up in Acts 15, which you had seen might be, behold, the men who had been sent by Cornelius, having asked directions for Simon's house, appeared at the gate. Calling out, they were asking whether Simon, who was also called Peter, was lodging there. While Peter was reflecting on the vision, the Spirit said to him, notice the Spirit said to him, the Spirit's not an impersonal force, he is a he. Behold, 3 men are looking for you, but rise up, go down and accompany them without taking issue at all, for I have sent them myself. Notice, he's got to give him a heads up. Hey, don't have a problem with these guys. Why would the preemptive caution or command need to be there from the Lord to Peter? Unless they're Gentiles. Because Peter's like, yo, what do you got these Gentiles coming up in here? I'm supposed to talk to these Gentiles after I had this vision? What's going on, Lord? Peter went down to the men and said, behold, I am the one you were looking for. What is the reason for which you have come? Peter's like, yo, I don't know about this. Notice if what Hakah was saying, Peter's actions don't make any sense. It destroys the logic of the story. Acts chapter 10, verse 22, reading from the Legacy Standard Bible. And they said, Cornelius, a centurion, a righteous and God-fearing man. Now here's really this, everything seals the deal, but this really just seals the deal. Watch this, everyone. They said, Cornelius, a centurion, a righteous and God-fearing man, well spoken of by the entire nation of the Jews. It's very obvious it's another nation speaking about someone from another nation. It's not personalized to Cornelius as if he's part of this nation. It's obvious. He's a God-fearer. He's a Gentile who's into the God of the Bible. Well spoken of by the entire nation. Hakah tried to say, oh, it says he's from one of the tribes of Israel. No, it doesn't. Nowhere. Now, I know if Hakah watches this, he'll be like, it does in this other part. See, Vocab's so dumb, he didn't realize, because that's how he operates. It's over here. None of it says that. In this passage or Acts 15 or any other part, you're not going to get what you're saying, Hakah. Now, he'll probably pull up a lexicon and be like, well, if you look at the third meaning, it could... No. Read the story, Hakah. Read it to your audience. Read it to your audience and let them see what it actually says. Was directed by a holy angel to summon you to his house and hear a message from you. So he invited them in and gave them lodging. And on the next day he rose up and went away with them, and some of the brothers from Joppa went with him. And on the following day he entered Caesarea. Notice they're not his fellow brothers. I'm just saying, now you could say it's Christian, okay, but they're definitely not Jews with Jews, right? This is Jews with Gentiles. Now Cornelius was waiting for them and had called together his relatives and close friends. So people, first of all, listen to Cornelius' word, and he's got everybody there. When Peter entered, Cornelius met him and fell at his feet and worshiped him. Cornelius must have some understanding. This guy was with Jesus. This guy is somebody who's leading this movement dedicated to the Messiah. He doesn't know how to act. He shows so much humility here. This is a centurion. Remember earlier in the story, Cornelius had servants. This man, who's a centurion, who has servants, falls at his feet, and he falls down before Peter. This whole story is a powerful story when you just take out the one West isms from it. You know, if you just look at it and see what it's really saying. The worship there is proskynesin, to worship or bow down. He fell at his feet. Now, if it was a one Wester and a Gentile fell to their feet, what would they do? Kiss the bottom of my boot. Lick my shoe. And then you got some grown man. Ugh. Letting a man lick your feet and the toes out. What you doing, man? That's what they would do. They wouldn't say, get up, like Peter's about to say to Cornelius, right? They'd be like, Kwam Yasharallah! Kwam Yasharallah! Kwam Yasharallah! Kwam Yasharallah! Kwam Yasharallah! These dudes get real excited when someone licks their feet. But Peter raised him up, saying, I'm not a one-Wester, so no Kwam Yasharallah. Stand up, I too am just a man. Unlawful it is for a man who was a Jew, he's talking about, to associate with a foreigner. You would never describe an Israelite that way. Oh, okay, so ignorant. No, don't. It doesn't work, bro. Or to visit him. And yet, Peter's just as shocked by this as everybody else. God has shown me that I should not call any man defiled or unclean. Ding, 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 ding. You guys see the bells going off in Peter's mind? Are you guys catching it? What is that a direct reference to? What bell just went off in his mind? Right? You guys catch what it is? It's the vision where the heavens open and God said, eat, don't call unclean or defile what I've made clean. And now Peter is applying that vision to a foreigner that he says, it's not even lawful for me to associate with you under Old Testament law. And yet, Peter's realizing, I'm in a new covenant with a new situation. Powerful. That is why I came without even raising any objection. Remember? Don't have a problem with them. This is God heading off Peter's prejudgment of Gentiles off at the past. So I asked for what reason you have summoned me. He's still a little skeptical. Cornelius said, 4 days ago to this hour, I was praying in my house during the ninth hour. Behold, a man stood before me in shining garments, and he said, Cornelius, your prayer has been heard, and your alms have been remembered before God. Therefore send a Joppa and invite Simon, who is all called Peter, to come to you. He is lodging at the house of Simon the tanner by the sea. So I sent for you immediately, and you have been kind enough to come to me. Now then, we are all here present before God to hear all that you have been ordered by the Lord. Now, I wish I could keep on going, but literally the next part of it, I got to go a little bit farther. The Holy Spirit poured out on the Gentiles. Opening his mouth, Peter said, I most truly comprehend now that God is not one to show partiality. Okay, so this partiality has to do with Peter's prior prejudgment of Gentiles, which God is destroying on the spot. God doesn't show the partiality. Unlike Hakah, who could look at Jay and say, I want to whip this celestial creation back, you know? And what does he mean by that? God doesn't show partiality, but in every nation. He has Israelites? Nope. The one who fears him and does righteousness is welcome to him. As for the word which he sent to the sons of Israel, there's a contrast here, proclaiming the good news of peace through Jesus Christ. He is Lord of all. You yourselves know the thing which happened throughout all Judea, starting from Galilee after the baptism which John proclaimed. It goes on and on and on. It's dope. I wish I could look at it all. We simply don't have time, but I do got to read this. And all the circumcised believers who came with Peter were astounded that the gift of the Holy Spirit had been poured out on the uncircumcised Israelites, the other Hebrews, the northern kingdom, the Israelite foreigners, the Hellenists. Nope. Been poured out on the Gentiles also. And that's what it means. They're hearing them speaking with tongues and magnifying God. You guys catch? This is so powerful. And yet Hakah is going to say something entirely different, something entirely wrong, something way off, and people watch him. And it's a real shame. Let's see what else we've got left here, because I do want to hear the context of this. So
when you look at the Greek, when it says of another nation,
where
that Cornelius was of another nation, it literally says another tribe, another one of the 12 tribes of Israel. It's the compound word alaphilos. Literally says that in the Greek.
No, it doesn't.
Man lived in Israel, was a devout man. We were called by the names of Gentiles, but he was not a bloodline Gentile.
Okay. So what is he talking about? I'm going to have to show you on the screen. All right. Alaphilos. That's the word he's talking about. Alaphilos. All right. Let's take a look at it here. All right. Let's take a look at, for those who like the Strong's, G246. It's like, bro, what are you like? What? I mean, I don't know. Like, what are you talking about, man? That's not what it. That's not what it says. So, hold on. Let me bring this up here. All right, I want to look at this. By the way, it's interesting. It's only in one place there. As far as the word, he's going to try to act like it's something it's not, and it's really just a snow job, where he's like, he's trying to make you think of it as something that's like, oh, it's right there in the Greek. Like we're going to trust Hakah's Greek. You can tell he's looking at his notes there, and that's fine. That's fine. He's looking at notes, but his notes are lying to him. I'm sure he got them from someone else, Now, let's take a look at the actual word and see what's going on here. All right, I'm going to show you this real quick. So now I have the ESV rendering up of Acts chapter 10, and I'm going to show you what he's trying to refer to here and claim something about it that's simply not true. It's right here, all right? It's Acts chapter 10. We read this when we read it. Verse 28. To associate or visit with anyone of another nation. Now notice, he's trying to tell you it says something it doesn't say in the Greek, but even the way it's translated indicates what it is. Now, in the actual Greek, there is no word for anyone of another. That is all out of the one word, alaphilos. It's all from that one word, because what it means is foreigner. That's the basic definition of what it is. Foreigner. Now, I bring up the theological dictionary of the New Testament. There's what it looks like. And look the way it's defined in the TDNT. Of alien descent. Foreign. This is a lexicon, people. This isn't Hakah. This is a lexicon. It is found from the time of Asclepius and Thucydides. These are Greek writers. It's showing that they use the word that way. And you actually can see the examples. In the Septuagint, it shows the Hebrew word that's used for it in Acts 61:5. Strangers will stand and pasture your flock, and foreigners will be your farmers and your vine dressers. Ooh, this is good. Let me tell you why. Most of you, this is going to go way too deep in the woods, but I'm just going to go here. Hakah's going to know what I'm talking about, but he won't respond to this because he's not going to be able to deal with this part right here. The Hebrew Israelites, and I have video of this because specifically Hassad from Sakari, not Hakah, did this when we met in Philly. They go to Isaiah 61:5 and they take where it says foreigners there, and they take it as, oh, you Gentiles are going to be serving us. You're going to be our farmers and our vine dressers. So they take it in this context as these are clearly going to be people, our servants and our slaves. All right. Now, they're not right about that as far as that being in the kingdom, as we've already established from Revelation 21. That's a different conversation for a different time. But the importance here is the word. The Hebrew word that is used there that gets translated in Greek in the Septuagint is the same word we're looking at. So here's my point. When it comes to Cornelius, he wants to try to say that it's an Israelite, but the word literally means of alien descent or foreigner, and it's that way in Acts 61:5 and the LXX. So if you're going to have Acts 61:5 be your literal slaves, those foreigners, it can't be now that Cornelius is an Israelite. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, Haka? You will not answer this because it's unanswerable. Answer this, what I'm showing right now on the screen and what I just explained, and look it up and find out if I'm right. Because guess what? I am, and you won't be able to deal with it. In the New Testament, it's only found in Acts 10:28 to denote the Gentiles from the standpoint of the Jews. You guys see that? Now, it even gives examples later on from Dionysius. Who was Dionysius? Well, we don't know who he was or the author of the Epistle to Dionysius, but when I say who it was, I'm referring to the Epistle to Dionysius, very early Christian literature, and in it, written in Greek, it says, wars waged against them as aliens by the Jews, and persecution is carried on against them by the Greeks, and yet those that hate them cannot tell the reason for their hostility. It's basically saying that Christians are treated by, I'm sorry, I'm not explaining it right here. According to Dionysius 5:17, it's saying the Jews treat Christians this way. So what it's saying there in this instance is that the Jews treat Christians as foreigners, as foreign-born or alien descent. When that's the word aliens there in Dionysius. Do you see that in 5:17? Right there, I brought up on the other side of the screen, 5:17, you can look it up, Dionysius. So it's saying the Jews treat the Christians as aliens. Now, let's look a little bit more here for this. I've brought it up here. I hope you can see this on the screen. This is showing other uses in the LXX, which is the Greek rendition of the Hebrew Scriptures, and the Lexham English Septuagint. Look at 1 Kingdoms, which is 1 Kings 10:5. After these events, you will go into the hill of God where there's an encampment of foreigners. Nasib the foreigner is also there. That's the word Hakah is talking about. This is not a word describing someone of a nation of Israel or a tribe of Israel. What are you talking about? 1 Kingdoms 17:8. Am I not a foreigner? And it goes on and on like this. The foreigner said to David. Who is the foreigner there? You guys know who the foreigner is? Who's the foreigner there in 1 Kings 17? It's Goliath. I'm sorry. It's Goliath. He's referred to as a foreigner there in the LXX. The same word that in Luke, who knew the Septuagint clearly from his writings, every scholar knows this. Luke uses the same word to describe Cornelius. Do you guys understand that word right here that he's claiming means he's just an Israelite from a tribe of Israel? Here, that word means foreigner, literally. I hope we are understanding this and how damaging it is to the claims Hakah just made. Now, it takes a lot of time to do this, but I encourage you to look at the Greek word up. All right? Look up the Greek word, alaphilos, and see who's right about this. It ain't Hakah. It is not Hakah. He is lying to you because he knows that there's no answer from their perspective about Cornelius. But nonetheless, keep in mind what we just read and what I just said.
When you look at the Greek,
here's what this dude says.
When it says of another nation, that Cornelius was of another nation, it literally says another tribe, another one of the 12 tribes of Israel.
It literally means of alien descent. Lie.
It's the compound word alaphilos.
Alaphilos. Like, never mind. I'm not even going to get into it.
He says that in the Greek. Man lived in Israel, was a devout man. We were called by the names of Gentiles, but he was not a bloodline Gentile.
Of alien
Furthermore,
descent.
If you're going to say that salvation was opened up for the Gentiles after Acts 10, I thought the Great Commission was for that decades earlier.
Okay, there's more that I want to show, but I can see it's going to be too much. So let me come over here and look at the live chat for a little bit here. I'm going to change the screen here, adjust this. Are you guys liking the new studio setup? It's not complete, but I don't know if you guys know, but David Wood, for his birthday, promoted a GoFundMe that Nate had created. Shout out to Nate. Shout out to David Wood. Shout out to everyone involved with that. D-New, how y'all doing? Much love. We got great people around here, and I don't just say that. It's really, really true, and I appreciate you guys very much. Well, it was for a tech upgrade for Street Apologist. Well, David promoted it and said that's what he wants for his birthday, so it was very successful. And so not only have we moved into a new studio, we're getting some new stuff. So this is the beginning of the setup. It is not complete. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be a definite upgrade. And over time, you're going to see the difference. I think you've already seen some difference here tonight. And some things work, some things don't. We're working on it. Nonetheless, I just want to show the way that these are two ships passing in the night. You have Jay Dyer, who doesn't know anything about Hebrew Israelism, is literally doing research on the fly. Hebrew is... Here's the guy. Let me see what this guy's saying. Who else should I look at? What's another video? Let's see what this guy says here. Huh. So he's saying something about Yakub? No, Jay. Because Jay's pride and arrogance, he won't listen to me or work with me. There's other people I could, that I could turn you on to or point you to. But, it's like Luke told the emperor, your overconfidence is your weakness. And same thing goes for Hakah. He tries to snow the audience. So his response to what Jay was doing was also bad. But Jay, because he didn't do his research, left himself open to some of the criticisms. And because it was flawed theology with the EO stuff, essentially, making a canonical, a white Jesus, basically, with the icons. You know what I'm saying? So there's some legitimate criticism to be had there. And people are going to listen to Hakah and his audience because they're like, yeah. But we need to be better than that. We need to come out and be thinking and be critical in the sense of we're putting on our thinking hats. We're applying biblical scripture to it. We just need to do better than this. And yes, you guys are popular and well-known on the internet, but it's simply not good enough. You got to walk in integrity, and you need to do better. Hakah, I challenge you to answer any of these things I said while playing my full context. And I've turned on lots of debates with you, but that would be an interesting debate, wouldn't it? And the reason is because you always want to just debate, is God racist or something? I've also put some to you that you've backed out of or said no. But that would be an interesting debate about Cornelius, wouldn't it? Especially getting into your Greek claim. That could be fascinating. Something to consider. But in the meantime, I'd like to see you debate Jay, and I do it right here. Guys, we got more live streams coming up, and I pray that you guys stick around for those. Got some great comments. Can't read all of them today, but stick around because things are going to be happening, and I think you guys are going to be liking what we got coming in the future. Well, for now, we got to go. Thanks for coming to the channel where we make apologetics fun again. Peace out, y'all. God bless, and shalom.